Hey y'all, welcome back to Gadfly, the podcast about third parties, fringe candidates, and just generally weird American electoral history. I'm Dusty Wilson.
I'm Una O'Leary.
Whoa.
Trying something new.
You just Meisnered me in the face. That was wonderful. Man, I should have had more coffee before this.
Woo!
Yeah. Man. So how's post-coup life for you, Una?
Oh my God. You know what kept resonating with me was someone on Twitter posted how their roommate or their coworker asked them, like, so do we just keep working now?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's honestly the most American answer ever. I was like, this hurts because that's exactly what happened for me.
Yeah. I think I maybe worked until about 11, but during that time I was also listening to speeches and just the entire time going just like, oh, this isn't good. Oh, this is somehow worse. Who taught Don Jr. to speak better in public? This isn't good.
Oh no.
And yeah, it was, I think it was around the point that Rudy was like trial by combat that I was like, I don't think I'm getting anything done today.
Yeah, no, at one point I definitely used InDesign to keep my heart rate steady. Like I would just like freak out, doom scroll, and then freak out over work and just go back into that for 5 minutes before going back to doom scrolling.
Yeah, it's really rough, especially with my Twitter feed. It's mostly Portland journalists and teenage pollsters. So, it's a weird group of folks, but it's quality doom.
Largely, here's the other painful part is like, I think 2 weeks ago, I finally like dipped my toes back into Twitter because I was getting into like literary Twitter, and there's a lot of like mentorship things that happen through Twitter. I was like, okay, I gotta like, for like the YA scene.
Well, that makes sense, yeah.
I was like, I gotta stay abreast of this. And then the next thing I knew was just like, a couple of our friends are on there. And for one reason or another, I found the scrolling a lot easier than I had in the past. I think because the last time before I deleted or like largely ignored Twitter for several years, I muted a bunch of shit. And so that's still muted. But as a result, like now I'm addicted to Twitter. And then the coup happened. I was like, no,
this is the opposite of what we wanted here. Like, there's a reason I never post on my main and Twitter. It's like I have nothing to say and constant things to read. Like the Gadfly Twitter is the most I ever tweet, like actively do anything with. But I guess if you guys want to follow us off of Gadfly, Una, what's your tweet names?
Oh Lord, that's a great question because I don't even remember what my handle is for Twitter. I'm
wonderful.
I live so much on Instagram. That's the real trouble.
Fair enough. So yeah, if you want to follow us outside of the Gadfly Twitter, do some work. Friend 60 Unas and 5 Dusties. There's not that many of us.
Yeah, I think my first name is listed. Hopefully I do not regret that. But yeah, if you find an Una where the image is a white travel mug with a frowny face drawn on it, that's your girl.
Little known fact, that's actually what Una looks like. It's very
thank you, Dusty.
That'll keep the internet weirdos away.
A full coffee tumbler that's very angry.
Well, on that note, let's dive back into our friends at the New Alliance Party. Oh, Una, are you ready?
You know what? I am ready. I'm ready to dip back into the 80s where third parties go to die.
It's such a weird time. Anyway, so when we left our friends of the New Alliance Party, they had just lost their first big race for president. Union leader and activist Dennis Surratt led the charge, got the party on the ballot in 33 states, and came in 7th place, right behind the White Nationalist Populist Party. Then, right after the election, Dennis went down to Jackson, Mississippi to speak to Charles Tisdale, the badass editor of the Jackson Advocate, and flat out accused the New Alliance Party of being a cult. But not just a cult, Una, but also a very huge grift run by self-described therapist Fred Newman. So but the thing is, what evidence did he have? Was he going down to Jackson with a stack of papers and things? Well, not so much. He mostly had just a lot of anecdotal evidence.
Oh, those don't make the best receipts.
They don't, but these
are receipts, but
these are some quality anecdotes.
Ooh.
So first and foremost, Dennis would state that the New Alliance Party, which billed itself as a black-run political party, was actually run by the sun-reflectingly white Fred Newman. And the reason behind this, according to Dennis, was because the New Alliance Party was run on a 3-tiered caste system. Something you always want to hear in a party that is supposedly for marginalized people.
Or anything with like tiers that come up like this. If you're not talking about wedding cakes, it's never good.
Yeah, what terrible things are there in triangle shapes? There's castes, there's MLMs, there's
pyramid schemes.
I'm sure they're going to be fine. Well, let's talk through these tiers. So at the bottom were the rank and file members. And according to Dennis, these people would have been recruited either through Newman's therapy or were people who were genuinely attracted to the party's ideals and wished to help. And yeah, in the mid-1980s, there was really nowhere for anyone to go if you wanted issues for people of color, the LGBTQ plus community, and women to be at the forefront. So when this party comes along, you're going to get some people who are pretty interested, whether they know of Fred Newman or not. So the primary role for these people would be to hang out on street corners and raise funds for the party. And these shifts would last up to 14 hours a day.
Oof.
With very minimal breaks too. So you're standing out on, let's say, I don't know, what's a terrible street in New York to be hanging out on?
I would say anywhere in the financial district. It's like, and I know this from experience.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah, we talked about, yeah.
I feel like this, what you're describing already sounds like the 2 weeks that I did, being that person that has their hand out, be like, hey, do you have a moment for it? No, never mind. But yeah, I would say anywhere in the financial district, because people, you either have tourists who have nothing to do with the local politics, or businessmen who have 30 minutes to grab lunch. And if it's the 80s, they're probably coked up.
Yeah.
They're very aggressive.
Look, I got to get back to Wall Street and clock in. It is a very long line.
Yeah, and I have 5 martinis in me.
I have 5 martinis and maybe 6 minutes of cocaine left.
Yes.
So one of the big tactics of keeping folks in line in a cult is to kind of keep the lower level members as exhausted as possible. And this is something that works really well if you're working people 14 hours a day.
Oh, God.
So when someone's kept in this particular state, it makes them all the more pliable to the whims of leadership. So once that level of exhaustion is normalized, then a cult has the ability to amp up their tactics and get a beginner more deeply involved. And the next deeply involved level would be becoming a member of Fred's International Workers' Party. And as we mentioned in the last episode, the IWP was founded by Fred in the mid-1970s, but it shifted to more of like a cool secret communist society. Sorry, my bad. Leninist Marxist secret society. So instead of an official political party, it now acted sort of as an honorary group that Fred had deemed more trustworthy. And this is the level where Dennis would place Lenora Fulani by name. Dennis claimed, quote, once an individual has been drawn close, they are met by 2 lieutenants and told that there is a secret underground organization, the International Working Party, allegedly a left party organization. Membership in the organization requires that you reveal all your resources and that you turn over everything to the organization. Even personal relationships are said to belong to the organization. So it is common for a member to report on his or her partner. Mandatory bi-monthly dues are assessed, and anything may be demanded at any time. Members generally share apartments, living communally, and often invite new recruits to move in with them.
Yikes.
It's not good. Look, I know the typical cult thing is to buy a huge house or a compound and everyone lives there, but you try to find a fucking compound in the Bronx. Best of fucking luck.
Yeah, I mean, sure, there are 5 people to a studio in any given building, but that doesn't make a cult.
Yeah, I mean, you're moving into the early 90s. If you find a warehouse, that is soon to be taken over by a rave at some point. So nothing's really set.
Yeah, if any, oh God, just where's the cult where I get to like buy up warehouses in Dumbo before it becomes Dumbo?
That is the worst use of a time machine ever.
That's all I would use the time machine for. It's just to buy property.
Time traveling gentrification adventures of
Oh my God, just let me purchase real estate.
Also, members and potential members were often encouraged to quit their pre-IWP job unless their job position could be exploited. So essentially, they're asking you to cut out your family, cut out your friends, cut out your job, and work 14 hours a day for a secret society that you cannot tell anyone else about unless you think they might be a good member or would be a valuable asset to bring in.
Unless they'll be cool about it.
Like if there's anything we know about cults, it's all based on how fucking rad you are. Oh, God. So every member of the IWP was heavily recommended to attend social therapy, which was Fred's bullshit psychology he invented. And it would usually be run by Newman himself or one of his more trusted associates, such as Lenora Fulani. Now, you could opt out, but members were still required to pay for sessions, even if they didn't go.
Oh, God, it's like my gym membership.
It's everyone's gym membership, Buddha. What are you, one of those gym dweebs who go and actually make use of your money?
Not anymore.
Ah, fuck that. There's COVID everywhere. That's the excuse I would have used before that happened. Like, it's a block away. What am I going to do? Go there?
Absolutely not.
But if you went to therapy with Fred, here's what you would get. So at least once a week, but for some it would be anywhere between twice a week to daily, members would meet in a group therapy setting. Dennis would say, quote, particular patients were targeted in sessions. The entire group then generally converged on the victim, who generally broke down in tears. They are then forgiven, accepted, and praised. Topics range from the most personal aspects of one's life to the failure to give enough of oneself to the organization. According to the tenets of social therapy, private time, private thoughts, critical faculties are all bourgeois. One can only be cured of their bourgeois ideology in social therapy. If you disagree at all with one of Newman's black lieutenants, the entire therapy group attacks you for being racist. If you disagree with a woman therapist, the entire group attacks you for being sexist. If you question the opinions of the therapist, you are resorting to your bourgeois critical faculties.
This is so hard. Like, I don't even know where to begin because like therapy is so good and important important.
Yeah.
And like an entire generation of left-wing advocates are now like traumatized from therapy.
100%. Yeah. Well, and group therapy is so important too, because, building trust with other people can be so important, especially with so many particular sorts of mental health issues or traumatic experiences or substance use. There are so many great and amazing ways that group therapy can be used. And weirdly enough, this kind of therapy actually reminded me a lot of a kind of therapy that was really heartbreakingly popular amongst the troubled teen industry for a number of decades. So there's a place called the Elan School, which thankfully has been shut down. But one of the processes that they use there is they would get people together in group therapy, such as this. It would usually be segregated by gender, and they would pick out one person, and everyone in the group would just yell the worst things they possibly could about that one person, whether they were true or not.
Oh no.
Because the general idea was, and this is like, it feels very toxic masculinity, but also just sadistic for the sake of it, is that you have these troubled kids who think they're hot shit, their ego is far too big, and the only way to get them back to where they need to be is to break their ego to the point that it is gone.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, there's a whole group of folks online who are desperately trying to get the troubled teen industry shut down, including Paris Hilton, who's been a humongous advocate for that for the past number of years. Like, if you haven't read anything about Paris Hilton in the past year, it's really interesting.
Why would I? Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Why would anyone? Yeah. Apparently, she's been speaking to congressmen and senators recently, essentially saying the whole ditzy persona that she created, it was a coping mechanism and a protection that she used for herself based on the abuses that she received while she was at one of these troubled teen locations in Utah.
No shit.
Yeah. And so essentially it's, she developed this ditzy personality so no one would take her seriously and no one would like challenge her,
right?
Just kind of keep herself safe. And so, yeah, for the past year, she's been working extremely hard on shutting these kind of places down.
Good for, that's a really heartwarming story.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Paris Hilton is the hero of this story as of right now.
Good.
I'm
glad.
But yeah, that's 100% what reminded me of this. And so many of these kids who went to the Elan school talk about just years of post-traumatic stress syndrome that they've been dealing with, issues trusting people, the number of folks they knew there who eventually went on to commit suicide or return to drugs or return to just any sort of coping mechanism that they could to deal with the trauma that was inflicted on them.
Yeah, because it sounds like you're taking kids who are trying to get better and trying to, seek mental health and essentially giving them an alcoholic parent as a therapist.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and not only that, but so many of these kids end up at these locations via what is essentially a legalized kidnapping industry.
Oh,
yeah. There are specific companies that if you're going to send your kid to one of these troubled teen facilities, or a let's say you don't like the sexual choices of your child or the sexual proclivities or directions of your child, if you're sending them to one of those Pray the Gay Away camps, these companies will show up the night before they're supposed to go there without your kids even knowing that they're going somewhere. Show up in the middle of the night and you sign your guardianship over to them and they just take your kid to this camp.
Wow.
Yeah. So you're
really,
yeah.
It's just fascinating to me because it's like promoted as this idea, like the therapy is promoted as this idea of, puncturing the inflated balloon of ego in this 15-year-old. And really it's like, or this person's a like marginalized teen who's just figuring themselves out as teens do.
Yeah.
And they're like ego only in the sense that like when you're 15, everything is ego because developmentally that's where you are.
100%. Yeah. It's your brain chemicals are going all over the place. It's the only normal way you can act. Yeah. And it's it's a whole pile of why it's such a sad and predatory industry. I could go on about the fact that there needs to be residential mental health facilities for teenagers, and those barely exist to begin with. So if you're a parent trying to help your kid and all of a sudden there's like, oh, here is a place where you can send your kid to 2 years, and when they come out, they'll be fine. And if that's your only option, it's kind of hard to say no, I imagine. But it's a whole fucking thing. And yeah, that's just exactly what this therapy reminds me of, is he's bringing in people who even Dennis Surratt had said are folks who are looking for a place where they feel welcomed and safe and able to express themselves and be able to fight for the things that they care about. And this is what these fuckers are doing to them.
Yeah. Yeah. In a community that has always seen therapy as like either not for them or not applicable to them, or generally like fucking with them.
Mm-hmm. So that's part one of what they're doing.
Oh no.
Yeah. But yeah, so if you have a cult and you want pliable members, you keep them up all night, you supply them with therapy that is actually just breaking their ego and breaking them down to what you want them to be. And then alone at the top of all these tiers is Fred Newman. Just Fred. Dennis would claim, quote, Newman controlled all the resources, personnel, and policies of the organizations. When I left in 1984, he was living with 3 quote-unquote wives. One was in charge of all the organization's finances, which Newman boasted well surpassed $1 million. Another controlled all personnel and members, and the third was in charge of all national operations. So here's something that we need to talk about Fred Newman. He is really into, let's say, polyamory, and that's kind of a common theme that you end up finding with a lot of these therapy cults that pop up in the 70s and 80s in New York City.
Yeah, was it just like a loophole around bigamy laws, or
I mean,
were they? Because that's the other thing. Is like I think too many times you hear this, and it's like polyamory gets used as a protective shield, which is not doing any favors to the polyamory community at large.
Exactly. Yeah, if a bunch of willing people enter into a polyamorous relationship, fucking awesome. That is amazing, and I'm glad you found your happiness. And then you get motherfuckers like Fred Newman who are just like, no, I just want to constantly fuck, and I'm going to brainwash people into fucking me. Allegedly.
Like what I want are the trappings of a bourgeois heterosexual relationship. But I want to carbon copy it.
Sorry, you just made me wheeze so hard I peaked the mic. Sorry, go on.
But it's like that's it. It always makes me think of how it's like I don't know if it was an Onion article or like some international news organization talking about how this was years ago, like a country in order to promote gender parity among like some of their cultural laws, like because in a number of Muslim countries, if you can prove that you have the financial resources and that the parties are entering into like a knowing, willing agreement for it, you are allowed multiple wives. And so this country was like, we're also going to allow multiple husbands, and there was just this deadpan look of a woman like, fuck do I want like 2 worthless sacks of shit near me? No, I want another wife. What am I going to do with 2 husbands?
You know CBS is aching for that law so they can make a show called My Two Husbands, and Kevin James plays both the husbands.
Oh my God.
Continues our series of casting Kevin James in fantasy projects.
Wait, but who's the guy behind like every CBS show you could ever make fun of?
Oh my God. Of course. It's some shit name. It's 2.5 Men guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
2.5 Men, or like 2 Broke Girls or whatever.
Yeah. Peter Lorre? Not Peter Lorre. Chuck.
No, Chuck Lorre. Chuck Lorre. Yeah. Anyway, his agent should call us.
Oh my God. Look, Chuck, we sell out easy. You can lowball the fuck out of us.
You can put your name on this everywhere. Just send us the check every week.
Look, man, our financial plan right now is win Mega Millions.
You're right, with the question mark.
Beyond that, it's Gadfly OnlyFans. It's literally just sitting in our rooms, just depressed. That's all it is.
Fully clothed.
Anyway, so where were we? Oh yeah, so Fred has his at least 3 quote unquote wives. You know, this is just some basic cult shit. If you're going to be a cult leader and you're like, no, only 1 wife, that is either some evangelical cult bullshit or you're just not fucking trying, man. You're going to get ripped at the cult conventions.
Yeah, and even if it is some evangelical boring shit, it's like you just haven't reached that level that like you just haven't like ascended. Yeah. You'll get there, Pappy. Don't worry.
That's a whole class at the cult convention. It's like overcoming monogamy, the quest to be a greater leader.
Expand your mind, expand your horizons.
Oh, God damn it, no. Oh my God. All right. So continuing what Dennis would claim, Newman and his chosen lieutenants often met and relaxed at his seaside mansion, which I think is in Nassau County, Long Island, from what I read.
Listen, Long Island has its beautiful moments.
Oh, it does. No, I'm not denying that there are parts of Long Island that are probably very gorgeous. And where this mansion was, it was definitely many millions of dollars.
Oof.
The mansion was supported by a mandatory tax placed on members of the IWP. You know, something that communists would really love to do. Sorry, Leninist Marxists would love to do. Pay a tax for the leader's mansion.
This is just heartbreaking.
Rank and file members were always taken along on these trips to serve as the honor of cooking for and cleaning up after Newman and his chosen ones. Once again, basic cult shit.
Yeah, cult 101.
Yeah, look, if you're not going to use your members for free labor, then you aren't culting. You are, I don't know, you're founding a boring religion, I guess. I don't know.
You're just very rich.
Yeah. It's just capitalism. So Dennis would also reveal just how little Fred seemed to actually believe his own rhetoric. And I know this is going to be a huge surprise, Una, because it seems like Fred Newman might not actually be a progressive leftist who wants to help marginalized people.
Oh, you don't say.
Quote, Newman's and the National Alliance Party's political positions vary according to what he believes he can best capitalize on at the time. I personally witnessed this opportunism on a number of occasions. Quite notably, before it became obvious that Jesse Jackson's campaign would move grassroots folks nationwide, Newman harshly attacked Jackson. And when it seemed as though Newman could exploit Jackson's movement, he used Jesse's name endlessly in literature and elsewhere. But this tactic of using whatever existing movement Fred needed to grow the party was, according to Dennis, the exact thing that actually brought him into the New Alliance in the first place. Fred and his acolytes had been pushing hard in New York City as a legitimate force for the labor movement, and Dennis, being a very key figure in that movement, was swayed into joining the cause. Dennis was even offered a position on the Central Committee for the IWP, which is sort of like a board of directors for communist shit. The thing, though, is that is where Dennis would be able to get his firsthand account of Fred's dictatorial nature of the organization. Quote, the IWP has been chaired by Newman since its inception. As far as I know, no one else has ever even been considered as an alternative. The Central Committee members are chosen by Newman. During the entire 2.5 years I sat on the Central Committee, there was never a single policy debate by the Central Committee once Newman made his position known.
Yeeks.
So yeah, it's an incredibly damning set of accusations.
Yeah.
And when Fred and the New Alliance Party read the article, they took it all under consideration and sued the Jackson Advocate for $1 million. So a newspaper with a history of fighting the Jim Crow South and with constant threats of death and murder and genocide has now been sued by the, quote, progressive party of the nation.
They're like, ooh, I'm so scared.
You know, Una, you haven't done it in a while, so I'm going to do it. Wanking motion.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think Charles Tisdale gave much of a fuck, and even Dennis Surratt said that the lawsuit wasn't serious, but it's very clearly the kind of lawsuit you do if you want to either scare people, intimidate them, or just fuck with them for a little bit.
What is it, the slap law or a
Yeah,
slap?
100%.
Yeah.
And the lawsuit would be thrown out. But this would also begin another tactic that became very synonymous with the New Alliance Party. And that's, if you are liberal or progressive and disagree with us, then we will try to fucking destroy you.
I mean, I see that a lot on Twitter these days, honestly, but
What,
fine,
leftists going after each other? No.
No.
You know what? I'll send an email to all 27 socialist parties and I'll see what they think.
God.
The huge bummer, though, is that the city that really needed to hear all of these accusations the most wouldn't hear the news of the New Alliance Party being pretty culty in any mainstream way. For the most part, the news just stayed in Jackson, Mississippi, and maybe a few other people in the know got a hold of it, but it didn't go mainstream.
Because it was before social media.
100%. And this meant that the party could just move on the next year and continue their life's war against Mayor Ed Koch. That fucking piece of shit, Ed Koch. That's right. He's still mayor of New York. And guess what? He's running again. And the New Alliance Party would begin this battle by gathering a national founding convention to name their new party chairperson. Despite the fact that the party was founded in 1979 and really didn't need a national founding convention, and also despite the fact that they were using the convention to announce that the party is moving from New York City to Chicago, a city where they have never run a single race to date.
Why? Was the rent getting too high? What? Like,
no, yep. The only thing we're gonna run for in 1985 is mayor of New York. We're moving to Chicago.
And I think this was like Daley Senior era as well.
Oh God, yeah, it would have been. Yeah, it would have been pure Daley. Well, no, it would have been Harold Washington.
Oh, okay, okay.
It would have been the few nice years we had before the dailies, or between dailies. So the party would elect former organizer and Newman-trained therapist Emily Carter as the new chair. She would state that the new head office would be in Chicago's Boys Town neighborhood, and would also be opening a new social therapy center in the neighborhood called the Chicago Center for Crisis Normalization. So for those of you who don't know, Boys Town is the gay district here in Chicago. I believe it's undergoing a name change, but I don't know what they officially decided on. If I remember right, the name they were trying to go with was just kind of wiping out all of the history and just like call it North Halstead or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's like the Halstead district or North Halstead.
Ah, boo. Anyway, it's the LGBTQ district of Chicago. It has a long and storied history. And so obviously they're going there to try to recruit more people. And so when asked, why Chicago, Taylor would state that it was so the party would be that much closer to the work of Jesse Jackson, Mayor Harold Washington, and Nation of Islam figurehead Louis Farrakhan.
That's a heady lineup.
Yeah, we're them. We're those people.
Are you?
But that's not to say that the New Alliance Party was going to just full-on ignore their former city. The party would form their own nonprofit called the New Alliance Community Services, which, amongst other things, operated a free legal clinic in Harlem. By 1985, the party had established state and regional offices in 25 states. And even worse, they had expanded their social therapy clinics to not just New York City, but also Chicago, Long Island, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Jackson, Mississippi, and Boston.
Oh boy, I wish I could have gone to visit their Boston office.
Philadelphia one would be pretty great, too.
Yeah.
Tell the group why you like to throw batteries at Santa Claus.
Yes.
Also, we will be checking for batteries at the door. And the thing was, 1985 was actually shaping up to be the year to dethrone Democrat-Republican Ed Koch. The Dump Koch movement had grown exponentially since the last election in 1981, and all they needed was a single uniting Democrat candidate to primary Koch. The problem, though, is that New York City is made up of a multitude of voices and groups based on region, religion, race, gender, and any number of issues. Now, that's not the problem in and of itself. The problem occurs when you have, say, political leaders of every single movement with huge aspirations, and aspirations that are larger than the needs of everyone. So instead of everyone getting together and picking one candidate that everyone likes, everyone got into a huge fucking fight. Manhattanites wanted someone from Manhattan. Folks from the Bronx wanted a Bronxite, or whatever the fuck you guys call yourselves. New York Magazine would even note that the Black and Puerto Rican political blocs would form a humongous rift between them, and both would end up pushing forward their own candidates.
This is starting to sound like the Warriors, and I'm into it.
You know, if New York City mayor races were more like the Warriors, I think they might elect better mayors.
Yes, 100%. Certainly you wouldn't have Andrew Yang being like, how am I, like, we have a 2-bedroom in Manhattan. How am I supposed to raise my kids there during quarantine? Stop it, Andrew.
I don't know how you can be so cold fucking hearted, Una. That man has 2 bedrooms. 2. That's fewer than most bathrooms Andrew has.
Just because
I've never been so disappointed in a candidate. Let me just say, it's just like, all right, Andrew, here's your chance. You seem adorable on CNN. Let's do this.
And then your dog got into the Yang gang. No, I get it.
Yeah, this is just feeling like Lori Lightfoot all over again, where it's just like I'm back to feeling severely disappointed due to who you are.
Yep.
Anyway, back to New York fun. So what they really desperately needed to do was to get a single nominee before 1984 ended. And in 1985, the Democratic primary featured 6 candidates.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
Every single one of these political blocs stating to the New York Magazine, we need to find one person, because if more than one person is here, then Ed Koch is going to win, and they couldn't fucking do it. Democrats.
We got 6, so now you choose among the 6.
Oh my God. So Manhattanites had rallied behind City Council President Carol Bellamy. Harlem Democrats chose to back State Representative Denny Farrell. Also, Greenwich Village Chamber of Commerce President Gilbert DeLucia ended up running, and so did Lyndon LaRouche cult member Jonah Rubinstein, leaving the last spot for Fred Newman.
Oh no.
That's right, Una. Fred's done hiding in the background. You can be a mastermind all you fucking want, but no one ever wants to put the lights on the mastermind. He's moving up. He's getting in there. He's going to be mayor of fucking New York. What could go wrong, Una? Law 1, everyone has to go to my therapy.
Oh my God.
So Fred Newman running for mayor in New York City. And it went about as well as you would fucking think. So in a candidates forum, Newman would make his pitch to voters, stating that he wanted a, quote, reassessment of the Democratic Party in the face of a neo-reactionary takeover in this country and in this city. Una, I repeat, the fuck does that mean?
Wanking motion.
Why can't Fred Newman just say one thing that makes sense? He's allowed sentences. Like, are sentences bourgeois?
Yes. No, it's like if I throw in some philosophy major 101 drabble, then no one can question me.
I mean, he said a lot of big words. And if there's one thing I know New Yorkers like, it's being talked down to. And as for policy, he actually had a little bit. Ooh. Mainly that he wanted schools to also teach students about their direct communities and what are currently happening in their communities, which, I mean, they would probably know, but it's also good to know the history of where you live. And that's, honestly not a terrible idea. But he would also require that builders provide affordable housing if they're building, if they're getting breaks for larger buildings and things like that.
Yeah,
which is kind of something we have here in Chicago, give or take.
Yeah, and something that's like kind of like in New York. Like I think there was a development that went up in Brooklyn, pretty close to the water, where it was like you have to have a certain number of units that can be provided for under market value.
Yeah.
But then there were these caveats built into like the lease agreements for those. It was like basically amounted to the people in those units having to take like the service elevators, like real ugly class warfare shit. It's like, really? And it's also like out of, 100 and something, there were like 8.
But it's still 8 too many. Make the polls take the service elevators.
Yes. Plebeians.
I don't know what you're so angry about. It's a larger elevator.
Oh my God.
Anyway. So Fred would not do well, predominantly because he was running against 3 well-known people in New York City, along with a guy who runs a chamber of commerce for a small neighborhood and a cult member. So you're splitting the cult vote already. It's not
Yes.
great. And Fred would finish 5th out of the 6th with 1.2% of the vote and get about 8,500 people to vote for him. So Ed Koch, he would very, very easily win the primary with 64% of the vote, beating Carol Bellamy by 45%.
Yeah.
And you know what? That should really be the end of all this. But after a statewide and nationwide set of races, maybe the New Alliance Party had built up enough clout to run a strong race in New York City.
Narrator, they hadn't.
Yeah, and this was despite the fact that they hadn't run a race in New York City since 1980.
And had moved to Chicago.
Mhm. So ignoring all of this, the New Alliance Party nominated Lenora Fulani to run for mayor. It also was kind of a mixed signal too, since Lenora started running well before Fred even lost his primary.
But they knew.
Yeah. The New York Times would ask Fred, hey, what are you going to do if you win and Lenora's still running? To which he kind of said, well, suppose I win. It'd be marvelous. It's the least of our worries.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah. And I think that the actual answer is I would tell Lenora to drop out and give me her money and go to therapy about it.
Which are things I already tell her. So it's just another Tuesday.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah. And while the Times would interview Fred twice, they seem to have barely said a word to Lenora. So much so that I can't find a single thing about her campaign or her policies. But really, it didn't matter. Ed Koch would win with 78% of the vote. Carol Bellamy would run under the Liberal Party of New York banner, and this time would lose even worse than in the primaries, only netting 10.2% of the vote. Lenora would finish 5th out of 9, but wouldn't get nearly as many votes as Fred got in the primary. Lenora ended her campaign with 0.7% of the vote and 7,500 people voting for her.
Oh,
Fun fact, with Carol Bellamy, she would actually go on to be the executive director of UNICEF and ran the Peace Corps for 2 years.
no shit.
Yeah, so she had a pretty good post-New York career.
Yay.
However, what this election would end up establishing, though, is that the party now has 2 political figureheads that would remain throughout their entire existence. And that would be for any major race, you're going to get a Fred Newman and you're going to get Lenora Fulani.
Wait, why? Why suddenly the BOGO? Why?
I mean, well, obviously one's Fred Newman. Obviously, but I was gonna save this quote for later. It's I forgot to write it down, so I'm gonna paraphrase it a little bit. But at some point, Fred Newman was talking about Lenora Fulani and said of her, "She is my greatest creation."
Ew.
Yeah. So I think that's part of it, is that he just views her as like the ideologically perfect representative for the party. I mean, she came into this party with a lot of her own very strong and awesome beliefs, and then Fred just kind of corrupted them and took them, and we're just like, all right, you are the party now.
Just shoot her up like an undeveloped country.
It's yeah. So in 1968, we would continue with this new hierarchy as Fred would run for U.S. Senate for New York and Lenora would run for governor of New York. And more amazingly, they actually ran some extra candidates in other races, including congressional races in New York's 16th district and Pennsylvania's 2nd district.
Ooh,
And of course, they're running multiple races at once. They are chewing and walking at the same time. It is a Christmas miracle for the New Alliance Party.
Oh.
And of course, all of them did not do well. But you know what? That's not the fucking point, Una. They did it. They tried it and they did it. And you know what? Why worry about those things when all the social movements of the New Alliance Party just continue to expand? See, by 1987, there were now 14 social therapy clinics in 8 states. But also, Fred had become a number of other nonprofit organizations. Their lobbying group, the Rainbow Lobby, had an office in D.C. and was advocating for a variety of causes, such as grand jury reform, affordable housing, and exposing misuse of federal funds for AIDS. But more fun for us, specifically you and me, Una, is that Fred and his people founded their own theater company.
Oh, it is about damn time.
So the Castillo Theater today describes itself as, quote, an award-winning theater that opens up the world of cutting-edge political theater to young people and adults of all backgrounds. Fred would name the theater after Guatemalan poet and revolutionary Otto Rene Castillo, who was burned to death by the Guatemalan government. And while Fred wouldn't become artistic director of the company until 1989, the company did become a home to all of his plays. And granted, Una, I've only read one of them online. And he co-wrote it with a guy by the name of Dan Friedman. It's a play called Lenin's Breakdown. And look, I have served as a literary manager for 3 theater companies that barely lasted a year, as a Chicago tradition. If you're going to do theater in Chicago, you're going to be a member of a theater company that dies before you even put on a show. And you're going to be in a theater company that dies after one show. It's the Yahtzee of Chicago theater. And so I've read a lot of plays in my life. And so I have no problem saying that Lenin's Breakdown by Fred Newman and Dan Friedman is fuck awful. It is terrible. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to break it down. So Lenin's Breakdown, which you can read online for free. And even then, that's, you should be
still
paid.
pegged.
No, you should pay me to read that shit. This is, oh my God. So it's essentially Vladimir Lenin is in like a state psychiatric unit, and he's talking to a therapist, and he's being all coy that he's actually Lenin, and the therapist is like, oh, your name's Vlad, interesting name. And he's like, yes, it is an interesting name. And then in the next scene, he's talking to a black auto plant worker who just goes by the name Detroit. And
No!
yeah, and
No!
they have a conversation. Oh my God, there is a line where Detroit says to Lenin as he's talking,
Ugh.
you're looking less and less white the more you talk.
Oh, God. Oh.
Yeah, and Una, I know the question you're asking yourself. What about the ladies? Are there any ladies in this play? Well, yeah, Emma Goldman shows up as a character, but I skimmed past most of that. I skimmed because I saw one of the characters listed in the character sheet just goes by prostitute.
Oh, that's never a good sign.
Look, it's theater in the 80s. You got LaBute, you got
Mammoth.
Man, yeah, you got all of these hyper masculine dick bags writing theater because why the fuck not? Cocaine directs you in strange places, and you have to have a sex worker of some sort, and you have to give her no respect.
Yeah, I'm angry, even though I was too young to be drafted, and I have no reason to be, but I'm angry.
Oh Lord. And yeah, so the sex worker is only there to talk about how much she wants to fuck Lenin. Which I don't know if you've seen a picture of Vladimir Lenin. That man has eyes that can just rip off your clothes. He is a sex feast.
It's why they had to keep him closed when they entombed him. Little known fact, if you're ever in the Red Square.
Oh God. Yeah, and so the only reason that character is even there at the end is literally to try to fuck Lenin and just be like, get out of here. You don't need this state-sponsored therapy. You don't need this. Let's go be cool on the streets of New York, Lenin. And that's the play.
This is why I get so mad at the derision casted towards fan fiction and fan fiction site when shit like this gets produced.
Yeah. Well, it helps when you own the theater.
It is just nothing but a self-wank, just a circle jerk party of one.
Yeah,
the writer.
100%. And this theater did all of his plays. Now we'll talk about a couple of them in part 3. Yes, there's a part 3. I'm so sorry this continues, but he would eventually start moving into full-length plays, and that's where shit gets real fucked up because these are like 10-minute to 40-minute plays, and that's the other thing. No one wants to see a 40-minute fucking play. If you're paying New York City prices to see a show, there is nothing that makes my stomach die faster than a playbill that says 2 plays in one night. I don't want.
Yeah, no, make it 45 minutes and just have that be the night, because I've been trained since birth to recognize hour-long dramas as 45 minutes, and I'll feel my circadian rhythm will be so happy because I'll be like, I will know we're reaching the end, and then it'll be 45 minutes, and I can probably still like grab a sandwich somewhere.
Exactly. Well, in reading the play, it's like, I know you have another 15 pages in you. It's clearly still there. So write another 15 fucking pages, you coward. Anyway.
Or recognize that all of this should go in the trash right now. It should never see the light of day.
Look, if this is just some fun theater advice. If you ever, I don't know, own your own massive theater, don't produce your own work. This will happen at some point.
Yeah, you don't see restaurant owners like also trying to be chefs or the maitre d'. They're usually just the money, and they like the idea of having a full bar at
Let Us Entertain You presents an evening of mistakes.
Oh my God.
For those of you not from Chicago, Let Us Entertain You is a food conglomerate that owns weird named restaurants in malls and tourist locations.
Yeah, they have some good restaurants within.
I mean, there's like RJ Grunts, which is like a salad bar that yells at you. Chicago shit.
Yells at you asking why you're not at Al's Beef or Harold's Chicken.
Like, for fuck's sake, Portillo's is down the street. Just grab your rental car that you regret getting and just drive there. So this is a Chicago theater podcast now.
Finally. My long con worked.
So that would essentially be the theater company that they would found. But really, you know what, Una, you know what this is all leading to. The big brass ring. There's another presidential election in 1988. God forbid. And Lenora's ready to run again. But this time, things are going to be a little different. In 1987, Lenora Fulani would call a press conference, not so much to announce that she was running for president, but to announce what she would call the Two Roads Plan. You see, since 1985, the New Alliance Party had done literally everything within its power to make themselves a direct associate of Jesse Jackson. So for those of you who don't know, Jesse Jackson is a Minnesota minister and one of the most prominent voices in the civil rights movement here in America. At the age of 18, Jesse began his activism by joining a sit-in at the white-only Greenville Public Library and would eventually be hired on to work for Martin Luther King Jr. In 1966, Jesse would be promoted to the head of the Chicago branch of King's Southern Christian Leadership Conference and became a powerful voice within one of the most segregated cities in the North. Towards the 70s, Jesse began incorporating class warfare into his fight, stating, quote, "When we change the race problem into a class fight between the haves and the have-nots, then we're going to have a new ballgame." By 1984, Jackson's power as an activist had grown so large that he ran an incredibly strong campaign for the Democrat nomination for president. He would create the Rainbow Coalition, a nonprofit with the goal of pursuing social justice, civil rights, and political activism. And while Jesse wasn't able to secure the nomination, he was viewed as a very strong contender for the 1988 Democratic race. And when someone is a strong candidate that stands for the same things you supposedly do, you can do a couple of things. First, you remember how the New Alliance Party created the Rainbow Lobby? Well, they founded it about a year after Jackson started the Rainbow Coalition. And turns out that was a tried and true tactic of Fred Newman to confuse people into supporting the wrong organization. This is something he'd apparently done in the 1980s, where he had wanted to get into the labor movement. There was a predominant labor organization in New York City that did not like Fred that much. So he created a rival organization with a name slightly different from theirs.
No, I just thought it was like, holding on to coattails of.
It's slightly worse. Everything with this asshole is slightly worse. It was reported as very common for people to enter the Rainbow Lobby's office in DC, clearly looking for the Rainbow Coalition headquarters, and then be led inside as if they had found the right place that they were looking for, which became a very good way for the New Alliance Party and Fred Newman to raise money off of people who had made a simple mistake.
No!
Which leads to the second option: get the press to print your declarations of "Notice Me Senpai Uwu."
No.
You see, the New Alliance Party did this by mentioning their support of Jesse Jackson and the Rainbow Coalition at every chance they fucking could, to the point that it would only make sense that the two had been working together. Why else would you be doing this? And it also didn't help that whenever they would mention the Rainbow Coalition, they would mention the Rainbow Lobby as if both of the names were completely interchangeable.
That's so skeezy.
Which brings us to Lenora's Two Roads plan. And the plan is fairly simple. The New Alliance Party would campaign for Jesse Jackson throughout the Democratic primary, with the goal of him winning the nomination. And if he won, then the New Alliance Party wouldn't run for president and fully endorse Jackson. But if he
believe them.
Oh no, bullshit.
No.
I call complete bullshit on that. They would find something wrong with Jesse Jackson, which some people had.
Or they just would have brought their left hand around, and you would have seen they had their fingers crossed as they were saying that. It's like something that childish. That's what I expect from
this
that.
This is our new candidate, Jesse Jackson.
Yes.
The thing, though, is if Jesse Jackson lost, then the New Alliance Party would run Lenora Fulani as their presidential nominee, and they would get on the ballot in all 50 states and DC. So you better nominate Jesse Jackson, or we're gonna do this. Which, for an upstart third party that hadn't won more than 10% of the vote in anywhere nearly a decade, it was a pretty ridiculous threat. But she said it to the press, and that was that. So the thing, too, is that the New Alliance Party would claim that they were the party of marginalized people, but Jackson was the candidate that popularized that idea and genuinely seemed to mean it. Very much like the New Alliance Party, he wanted to ensure that all Americans would have a right to a job. He wanted to cut the Defense Department budget by 15%. He supported reparations, universal health care, and wanted to provide free community college for everyone. Jesse was, for the most part, running with the New Alliance Party's entire platform. And he got Bernie Sanders' endorsement back then.
That's 1988, and we're still begging for all of this.
We just have to wait our turn for these policies. We have to wait for people to want them. It's what Nancy wants us to do.
Baby boomers are never going to die. We can't wait. They have all the health care, thus all the amenities for life eternal.
I hate the fact that I believe that sentence. Yeah, we're going to discover immortality right before all of them die, and we're just fucked.
I can imagine in 20 years, the New York Times headline, how, the first report of a natural old age death for a Gen Xer, baby boomers still at large.
But of course, running for a major party endorsement while a person of color was never going to be easy for Jackson, especially for someone as polarizing as he was. Not to mention, he was running against an absolute gallery of Democratic superstars. There was Illinois Senator Paul Simon, not the singer, Missouri Congressman Dick Gebhardt, Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis, Tennessee Senator Al Gore, and Delaware Senator Joe Biden. But even amongst all those people, none of them were the frontrunner. That would go to Gary Hart, a senator from Colorado. Now, honestly, Jesse Jackson would need a freaking miracle to even make it past Super Tuesday. And that's when miracles started happening. First, Joe Biden was caught kind of plagiarizing a speech. In actuality, he'd given a speech many times where he quoted someone and cited them. But the one time it was filmed, he said the speech like he wrote it. So Joe dropped out. And then frontrunner Gary Hart ran into a whole pile of hubris. You see, there had been rumors that Gary was real bad at fucking women who weren't his wife, but no one had
really
been able to prove it. He was super good at it. Yeah. He was just like, oh no, that's not my wife.
Oh,
what's my dick doing here?
How'd we end up on this boat?
Oh. And reporters even asked him about it, to which Hart said, if you really cared, you know what, you can hire someone to just follow me around. But if they did that, warn them, and this is a quote, it would be a boring job. And the thing, though, is the Miami Herald already had someone tailing him about a week before he said that.
Yeah, Gary, don't threaten me with a good time.
And they just happened to find out that Senator Hart was absolutely fucking a non-wife woman. And so he dropped out of the race for a while, would eventually re-enter, but by that time, people were really kind of done with his bullshit and no one voted for him.
Yeah.
So with the frontrunners gone, the race came down to Dukakis, Gore, Gephardt, and Jackson. And Jesse would start off fairly slow, but on Super Tuesday, he would win 5 of the 21 states and gain electoral votes in another 13. Before long, Gephardt and Gore would drop out, leaving Dukakis and Jackson neck and neck by April. Jackson would literally be within 5 electoral votes of Dukakis by the end of March.
So close.
And meanwhile, Lenora was still, not so much campaigning as it was just her essentially reiterating her 2 roads plan and spending all of her time talking about Jesse Jackson rather than herself and her policies. There's literally one video I watch. It's 38 minutes long. For 36 minutes, she talks about Jesse Jackson, and for 2 minutes, she talks about her own policies. But through April, the Jackson campaign would hit a number of huge losses. The biggest being a pair of losses in New York and Pennsylvania. The Dukakis would win 256 to 134. Dukakis would pile on win after win after win, and despite winning 13 states, Jackson would concede defeat at the Democratic Convention to Michael Dukakis. So now Jackson's gone. It's totally up to Lenora Fulani and the New Alliance Party to become the voice of the progressive movement, Una.
Is it?
Well, we'll find out next time.
Oh my God!
Oh, man. Yeah, so how you feeling? How's life?
Not great, Bob.
Yeah.
Because when all of this started, you were telling me about a progressive party that was pro housing for the home insecure and lowering our defense budget and basically all of these things that are just a fever dream for me constantly. And now I've got Lenora as a shade away from her own Lifetime movie in terms of how little she talks about herself.
Yeah.
Lenora, you are your own woman.
Yeah.
You are votable.
It genuinely makes me wonder what the fuck would have happened if she never met Fred Newman.
Yeah. She was on fire.
Yeah. She, coming out of college, just an absolute fucking badass. She could have been there on the front lines with a major party or created her own third party to push these things forward. But yeah, being at the top of a Ponzi scheme is still a Ponzi scheme. It's genuinely devastating. But hey, maybe it'll get better in the next episode, Una.
You know what? I don't appreciate that, Dusty.
Always gets better in politics. Oh, Lord. Well, yeah, I'm really excited for y'all to join us next time as we continue the tale of Lenora Fulani and this crackpot fucking cult.
Oh, God.
Because fair warning, it gets cultier.
Oh, no.
But the upside is the cultier it gets, the more people who start talking shit.
Oh, fingers crossed the Southern District of New York court shows up.
Oh, God. So join us next time on Gadfly. On a stage reading one of his plays.
Oh, God. There's not enough booze in the world.
Gadfly is a production of Added Serotonin. Our episodes are edited by Brianna Valentine of Rem Alternus Productions. Our theme song is Sophomore Makeout by Silent Partner, and you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at GadflyPod.
Ready to level up your cosplay game? Check out the Geek Forge on Etsy. With a variety of props to give your photos that extra spark, you'll find just what you need. Hold magical fire in the palm of your hand, or take a potion to restore your mana. With a large variety of colors, you can choose your own magical flavor for your cosplay. Bring drama to your photo shoots with these vibrant props and more, all available at the Geek Forge. Are you ready to level up your cosplay?